A landlord in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is suing the government for the losses due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the eviction moratoriums. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it has to do with the lawsuit against the federal government for the whole CDC eviction moratorium nonsense, okay? I've been talking about this for the last 5 years. In fact, it was one of the factors that actually made me create the channel. For those who haven't been watching since 2020, you should know that the eviction moratorium, it broke a lot of landlords. It created just this huge amount of distrust towards the government. Now, already landlords were pretty distrustful of the government. We didn't like all the government regulations being passed, that protected tenants against, rent increases and other things that were completely nonsensical. And you know what? It broke the camel's back, as they always say, okay? So telling a landlord that you have to house these people, whether you're getting paid rent or not, okay, it's idiotic. It's absolutely idiotic. And then they were like, oh, we're going to put out this rental assistance. They put all these limitations on rental assistance and made it darn near impossible for landlords to be able to recover their money. So landlords lost their properties, just like how business owners, they lost a lot of their businesses because they forced them to shut down. Now we're trying to make things right, okay, by suing the federal government, saying, hey, we have to be compensated that money. We have to be compensated that money. This could be easily a large class action lawsuit where, hundreds of thousands of landlords throughout the entire country join in to get their money back from the government, okay? Now, do I think that they're going to win? I don't know, okay? The tide has turned. There's a new administration in office in the White House very soon, and I think that landlords have a good chance in order to, at least be able to put their argument out there that we were wronged. And if nothing else, I want to make sure that something like that never happens again. I don't want any eviction moratoriums. I never want to see that sort of thing happen again in my lifetime. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Do you think that the landlords suffered unnecessary losses during the pandemic? Do you think that landlords deserve compensation from the government? Do you believe, like I do, that it was actually a constitutional violation, okay? I mean, this is literally what I believe. It's just wrong. Everything that happened during the pandemic was just wrong. And I know they want us to forget. They want us to just forget about it. It's over. No, it's not over, okay? If you can do that once, you can do it again. And I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. So anyway, let me get into the article, tell you about this lawsuit. This article is coming from thepostgazette.com, and it says, Pittsburgh landlord sues U.S. government over financial losses from COVID-19 eviction moratorium. Let's get into it. A Pittsburgh landlord is suing the U.S. government, alleging she was not fairly compensated for financial losses after she was barred from evicting a tenant who did not pay rent for more than 10 months due to the CDC COVID-19 eviction moratorium. Rebecca Schaefer, who rents out a single-family home, alleges the eviction moratorium, which protected tenants from eviction if they declared financial difficulties during the pandemic, violated her rights as a property owner. She is seeking $20,000 as reimbursement for income losses, property damage caused by the delay in eviction, legal fees, and related costs, according to a federal lawsuit filed Wednesday. In September 2020, Ms. Schaefer filed an action in the Allegheny County Magistrate Court to evict her tenant, Michelle Brown, after not receiving rent payments for 3 consecutive months. Court filings did not list an attorney for Ms. Brown, who could not be reached. So, basically, and this is funny because this isn't a huge amount of money. This isn't a large landlord who owns hundreds of units. This is a small landlord with one single family home who has one tenant up in there and is owed an amount of money of $20,000. Okay. Now, why is this important? Because small landlords in particular took a lot of losses and suffered the most when the tenants were unable to pay, because we're normal people. We're people who have full-time jobs and then own maybe 1 or 2 properties on top of that. Okay, we're not people who live solely off of the income from our rental properties, right? Now, it's just as bad for those people who do, but it's important because now you have in your mind this mental picture of a person who is going to work every day so that they could pay the mortgage on a house where somebody else who isn't working can stay for free. You know, think about that for a second. Think about how idiotic that sounds. But you know what? It also gives the opportunity for other small landlords who suffered similar losses to jump in there and say, hey, I need to sue for, you know, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 as well, you know? So, you know, because I got screwed. I got screwed over. I'm up here filing all this paperwork in court, and I don't get compensated for that. You know, like when they make their court judgment against the tenant most likely is not going to ever be able to pay that money back. But the only reason the tenant was allowed to stay there for so long was because the eviction moratorium was in place. So, you know, in my mind, the tenant is less to blame than the government itself for forcing me to become a homeless shelter, for forcing me to be the social service provider. And so that way I can go straight after them for creating this problem in the first place, okay? It's an unjustified taking of private property for public use without just compensation, which is a constitutional violation, okay? Let me continue with the article though. The lawsuit indicates Ms. Brown used the moratorium to delay her eviction until June of 2021, when the court eventually issued a decision to evict her. The case will be presided over by Judge Philip S. Hanji of the U.S. Court of Federal Claims, and a response from the government is due by March 10th. Ms. Schaefer's attorney, Alta Maglio, said in a statement that his client is not challenging the CDC's authority to create the moratorium or its public health goals, but is asking for fair compensation from the government for the income and property damage she suffered because of the policy, right? And that seems like a good thing to ask for, okay? Simply put. Now, she's not challenging the CDC's authority to have issued the moratorium in the first place, because there's no reason to challenge that, because the Supreme Court has already decided the CDC didn't have authority to issue an eviction moratorium. So it would be, you know, pointless to argue against that. Now, she is arguing that, yeah, I deserve to be compensated. And that's pretty much all we can do right now. Now, that's going to cost billions of dollars from the U.S. government. But you know what? The government is so wasteful. You know, we're sending billions and billions of dollars overseas to foreign governments so that they can fight foreign wars. Yet we're going to tell landlords, well, you have to house these people for months on end or years on end and not get paid. What kind of nonsense is this? Okay. So yeah, I want to see, you know, this could be the case study that makes a successful case for other small landlords to sue. Like I said, class action lawsuit would be great, where, you know, thousands or hundreds of thousands of landlords throughout the entire country join together in one gigantic lawsuit against the federal government and claim their losses. That's what we need, okay? Anyway, what do you think of this whole situation? Do you think this is going to work? I don't know. We'll see. There's been, you know, so many different lawsuits against these eviction moratoriums over the last 5 years, and very few of them have actually ended up, you know, with a positive result. To the camera.
Hello.
Hi. You having fun in the Bahamas? Say happy birthday, Daddy.
Happy birthday, Daddy.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.